very, very important, probably one of the most important things you can learn in science is how to write scientifically. And it is something that's not easy. It's hard. It's hard for us. It's hard for anybody who is trying to write scientifically because of the rules that science requires for how you write. So this is the first of 4 science writing workshops that you guys will have. You'll have assignments to go along with it to get you to thinking about scientific writing. If you can do this well, or if you can get started on the path to doing it well, before you even get to Emory, it is going to make your life that much easier. But understand, as Kimberly will tell you in a second, it is difficult and it takes practice. A lot of what you learn in high school isn't necessarily accurate scientific writing the way that a scientist or your professor would expect you to write. So that's something you're going to need to learn relatively quickly. So with that, this is Kimbria. She's going to be walking you guys through scientific writing, so enjoy it, have fun, take notes, learn, think about things, and you'll have assignments to do too. Go, Kimbria, it's all yours.
Hey guys, how are you? Good. Hello.
Yeah, it won't lower.
Okay. Well, I'm Kimbria. I am a former Emory student. I'm an alumni. I graduated in 2011. I'm currently in pharmacy school at Mercer. So I've been where you are now. I've been at Emory. I was a pre-med student at first, and then at that first semester freshman year, I said, you know what? No, not med school for me. So I decided on pharmacy, which isn't that much different, but more in my alley, more my interest. So welcome to Emory from alumni. I hope you guys are enjoying your time here and continue to enjoy your time here. I'm going to go over scientific writing. So, okay, you guys are pumped? I know you just had lunch, so you're kind of like really right now, but it's okay. We'll make it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a short introduction lecture about scientific writing. So, what is scientific writing? It is a method to communicate information about matters of science. Everyone get it? Yeah? Anyone want to kind of expound upon that or kind of ask questions about that? That's the simplest definition I can give you. Are we good with that definition? Okay. So, you guys, who's pre-med or thinking about going to some kind of science field or science major? Pretty much everyone. So your research, what you know, will matter not if you don't know how to communicate it. You can have the best experiment in the world with the best outcomes. If you can communicate what you've done or what you have accomplished, it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is why it's important for you to understand how to communicate that effectively. So, like Drew said, in high school you learn about literary writing, essays and summaries and 5-paragraph style. Sound familiar to everybody? This is kind of what you've done? Yeah, just kind of forget that and let's just start over, okay? Not saying that you do not know how to write, but I have to say that there's a different style. It's not hard, it takes practice, but it's doable. I taught the same class of high school students who are going to their junior year, senior year, so if they can learn something and accomplish it, I know that you guys can, okay? So don't feel nervous. So these are pretty much the rules. So these are kind of like your guidelines of scientific writing. So one thing you have to know is it's conventional. Rules are rules. It may not make sense. It may not be what you're used to, but when there's a rule in scientific writing, it's a rule. You can't break it. It's how it is. It's how people expect you to communicate. So you can't really break that mold, okay? It's not like your poetry classes where you can kind of do what you want. You kind of have to write within the rules of the style. Is that understood? Any questions about that? Not yet? Okay, good. So, it is clear. So you have to say and write exactly what you mean. You have to say and write exactly what you mean. You have to say and write exactly what you mean. So, something that my high school students kind of get caught up on is he caught HIV. We know what that means, but in scientific writing, you can't say someone caught something. What does caught or catch mean? Like literally.
Physically grab.
Like physically put your hand in the air and catch it and grab it. Is that how you contract HIV? No, you just can't put your hand in the air and catch it, right? So you have to be clear. You have to say what you mean and write what you mean. Okay? It's concise. You get to the point. So I know in high school you go through these elaborate ways of making your writing colorful and make it interesting and to grab the audience attention. Does it sound familiar to you guys? Yeah, let's just scratch that. Don't do that. I'm not going to say that scientific writing is boring. I'm not going to say it's dry, but it's not very attention grabbing, like, hey, over here, this is what I have. It's very to the point. Communicate what happened, communicate what you have to say, and that's it. So I think this is probably where a lot of students struggle because you have been kind of trained to grab the audience attention and to kind of make it colorful and interesting. Yeah, that's not what you do here. Okay? Okay. It's also accurate, no guessing. This is really going to come into play when you're talking about your scientific lab reports or biology or orgo. You have to be accurate. You can't say I poured about 5 mils of water. Was it 5? Was it 5.5? You have to know exactly what it was. You can't guess. It has to be accurate. Okay. It's also very formal, so no slang or jargon. So what is slang versus jargon? Anyone know? You guys know. Don't be nervous. In the back there.
Jargon is like local speech. All slang is like any words that are fitted to a certain culture.
Okay.
I guess slang would be informal language, something you use with like friends and stuff, and then jargon would be usually language like there's medical jargon, which is specifically medical terms, or like there would be more slang terms that would even be a jargon.
Exactly. So jargon is kind of like what you would use in a field or at a certain setting. So like in pharmacy school, we have our own jargon. We have our different abbreviations that only we kind of understand. Same with doctors that have their own. They may call something by a nickname that you kind of use only in the medical field. So that's jargon. Slang is kind of like what we can use just between us as friends or peers. So see the difference? So you can use none of that. If you must use jargon, there's an exception. You have to explain what it is first when you're writing, and then you can use the jargon if it's easier to use that jargon. But you just can't come off the bat using jargon because your audience may not know what you're talking about. Okay? And it's also objective. So the way I summarize this is tell it like it is and not how you feel about it. Does that sound simple enough? So you kind of have to put the information out there without projecting your own feelings or emotions or your own opinion on it. Does that make sense? Yes, no? So, the key to scientific writing is the audience. You have to know who you're writing for. Like I was saying before with jargon. If you're writing for a group of high school students and you're a doctor, you're going to have to change kind of how you write for the audience. Versus if you're a doctor writing for other doctors, you can be a little bit more formal. You don't have to explain every little thing that you write. So, is that understood? The audience is the key. So for our classes purposes, we're going to write for someone who don't know what you're talking about. Like, run-of-the-mill person, let's not say like Joe Schmo, but another college student. So you're going to write formal enough where it isn't so dumbed down, but you're going to write simple enough so that it's not over someone's head. Okay? So, you ready?
Guys, this would be a vastly inappropriate time to be checking Facebook or chatting or doing other things. If you had those bad habits in high school, they will mess you up in college. So you need to be focused on what's going on in front of you and not talking with your friends. Sorry about that, Cambria. They didn't mean to be rude.
Okay. So here's some examples. You've seen it before. You all have read Time magazine, or you've read a newspaper article. You've read something that deals with science that's not necessarily a journal article, but believe it or not, you have been exposed to it. So this is an example. This is science non-specific. This is from sciencenow.com, something that if your mother or father wanted to go and learn something about science, they can just go here, and it's pretty simple to follow. Okay, it's not really specific for a field.